Boys, I got to tell you, sometimes the NFL schedule gods just come up clutch. I'm about to list the games the Browns have won this season. The Bengals, the Washington football team, the Cowboys.
Fucking Baker Mayfield, man. Honestly, the only reason why the Cleveland Browns team is winning games because of their running game. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt been carrying this team.
Baker Mayfield's non-talented abilities. They only lost 3 games. They run the football with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They make the throws so easy for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield just got to hit the daggone throws.
You cannot miss the throws
hopping
that he's made.
Hopping off. You don't want to be on the Baker Mayfield train.
I'm not
brother.
on the Baker train. The Cleveland Browns trounced the Tennessee Titans. The score looks closer than it actually was for most of the game, 41-35. Biggest takeaway from this game, my takeaway would be is, even though it's a bad loss for Tennessee, I don't think we should overanalyze it in terms of looking at Tennessee. I think they just had overall they got outplayed and they had a bit of bad luck in the beginning. You look at the offense, they lost all momentum after that poor 4th down spot. I mean, it looked to me like Henry had that with ease if you were watching the game. So I thought that was a bad spot. Browns would go on to extend the lead 10-0 after that. And then Henry fumbles on the next drive, which ends in a trick play by the Browns, 17-zip early, first quarter. That's hard to overcome right there. So there was just a bit of, a mix of bad luck and just an uncharacteristic fumble by Henry. And I thought Tennessee was maybe potentially going to show, that they could stay in it with that Corey Davis touchdown in the second. But all in all, I mean, Cleveland answers with the wide open walking touchdown to Donovan Peoples-Jones. And from there, it's just downhill. The fact that Tennessee was 2 for 10 on 3rd down on offense and they're down 38-7 at the half. If you're down 38-7 at the half, I mean, there's not much hopes of you coming back. So I guess my take is that the Browns just had a great game. Baker had a near turnover-free game and was on his shit in the first half. I mean, if Baker's on the money, this is a Browns team that is very capable of beating you on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, that's my take, man. I wouldn't overanalyze.
Don't overreact. That's your take.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Well, I said for me, man, my biggest takeaway is that Baker Mayfield finally throw over 300 yards this season. That's my biggest takeaway. Finally throw over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like I said, I'm not buying into the Baker Mayfield hype, but I'm just happy that he stepped up.
Yeah, I think for me, before I say anything, I want to make it very clear. I'm not buying into this Baker Mayfield hype either. I think he is really
sure.
He's a solid quarterback that played really well yesterday, but his future in Cleveland, we still don't know that. But with that being said, I'm so happy for the Cleveland Browns, man. And like these fans, the fact that they are 9-3 right now, and in 2020, that is the year the Cleveland Browns decide to make the playoffs. It's pretty nuts. But at the same time, Kevin Stefanski deserves so much credit. How many coaches have we seen with this Cleveland Brown team over the last 20 years just come in and instantly fail? Kenny C, your boy, Mike Pettin, instantly after 1 year.
Don't even bring him up.
we've seen it happen. Hugh Jackson. So many times we've just seen the Browns bring in terrible coaches. And I'm going to be honest, Kevin Stefanski and the Browns, week 1, they got blown out by the Ravens. And I remember being on this show and you guys saying, like, what is up? What is the deal? Why are they could lose, but don't get blown out. And I got to be honest with you, in terms of the Titans, like my biggest takeaway from their side is that they still can't win in the playoffs unless their defense gets a hand on the quarterback. Because if Baker wasn't touched yesterday, and I know Cleveland's offensive line is
I got something to say about that.
They're top 3 line.
I got to say something about that.
That's
I
hard.
won't put that much emphasis. Even though the Titans' defensive line has not always been great, Baker Mayfield is the most protected quarterback in the league. Actually, next gen stats show that.
Right. I'm saying the Titans. I'm not props to the Browns' offensive line, but
I'm just saying the stats are what they are.
I think the Titans' defense needs to be better. I mean, they spent $20 million on Vic Beasley and Clowney, and they're going to get
and he's done for the year.
They're going to get one got cut and one's out for the year. I don't know if you guys heard about this kid Isaiah Wilson. Their first round pick right tackle is throwing. Like I hate to say it, he's throwing his life away. Look, props to the Browns, but like. I don't want to say I'm worried about the Titans, but there are definitely things going in the wrong direction. And you guys know I'm a big Mike Vrabel guy, but man, Everyone was hyping up Mike Vrabel going into the game, saying, how great of a coach he is. I think Kevin Stefanski made a statement yesterday. His play calling throughout the game was phenomenal. That play action by Baker to Peoples-Jones, that little bump and go move was phenomenal. And I feel like Cleveland Browns fans haven't had this much fun watching football in a really long time. They have a great running game, a great offensive line. They just need their defense to be average, and they're winning a lot of football games. They deserve a lot of credit, and if they match up against a Buffalo or against a Tennessee in the playoffs, I definitely would give them a shot.
I want to say this. With the Titans, I'm not going to put too much on this L because, first of all, they got down early, 17-0. You're a winning team. You're not going to come back from that. It eliminates Derrick Henry out of the game. So when it gets cold and you have to run the football and that becomes an important element of the game, the Titans is going to be fine. I'm not worried about the Titans. My biggest takeaway from this game, and before I do say that, I'm going to give credit to Baker Mayfield because that's the guy that I highly criticize, probably the most out of any quarterbacks in the league. Obviously, the playbook opened up like the Harry Potter book to him. Guys was wide open, but he did have some good throws to Jarvis Landry in the back of the end zone, a nice laser beam pass, and hitting the open target for 75 yards, Peoples-Jones. But my biggest key takeaway here in this game is that Derrick Henry went from being a top 2 MVP candidate in my list to on the outside looking in with his performance yesterday. I mean, you're talking about getting stopped, not getting 1 yard. You expect Derrick Henry to easily get 1 yard, and even though it could have been challenged, still wasn't clear enough to overturn that call. It wasn't, it was close enough to not overturn the call. When you think about the fumble that he had a fumble as well on the second possession. He doesn't fumble. That was the first time he fumbled since last December, and Henry was stuffed on a 2-point conversion for no gain. So I expect Derrick Henry to be an even bigger factor, even though we know that his strong suit is towards the end of the year. You expect him to get a yard. You expect him to convert a 2-point conversion. So his game wasn't the best, and I think that put him on the outside looking in the MVP conversations.
One other thing I wanted to say really quickly is I know you guys, Will and Cam especially, were on this bandwagon going into this game, that the Cleveland Browns going into this game were 0-3. But I said it on the show last week, right? The schedule gods threw them a gift, that they weren't really able to beat anyone. But I'll say this. We can make fun of them all we want for their schedule, but hey, how many teams across the NFL over the last couple of weeks have just dropped games that, quite frankly, they shouldn't be losing? And we can't say that about the Cleveland Browns. I think they deserve some credit. And at the same time, going into this game, I think it was a real statement game for Cleveland because even though their record was 8-3, everyone was saying this Browns team is a fraud. Baker Mayfield sucks. He hasn't hit over 300 passing yards. Their defense isn't that good. They're fine, but, beat someone good. And the fact that they went into Tennessee, they came ready to play, and they were up 38-7 at the half. They deserve mad props. I'm happy for Baker Mayfield, man. He looked like Oklahoma Baker Mayfield yesterday. And when he's like that, there's not many other more fun players in the NFL to watch, man. I'm happy for the Browns. I really am.
I mean,
and my – Oh, yeah,
I was going to say, guys, are you guys more worried about Tennessee or like you guys are buying in just a little bit to the Browns hype?
I'm not worried about Tennessee. The only thing that concerns me about Tennessee real quickly, Kenny, I'm going to let you get in here real quick, is their kicking game. The kicking game worries me with Steven Gostkowski. If he's somehow able to get going and use his experience and let that help him later on, I'm not worried because when it gets cold, you're going to have to win the football. Those crazy passing attacks.
He won them a bunch of games too.
Yeah, so
he did win them a bunch of games. He is pretty inconsistent.
Cleveland already knows one and done. They one and done in the playoffs. Cleveland.
I wanted to give credit to Myles Garrett. The man missed 2 games, still was tied for the most sacks in the league, and now I think has the lead with 10.5. He's an absolute phenom and the backbone of the Browns defense. I just wanted to give some credit.
Yeah, and also let's not forget Denzel Ward didn't play yesterday, and that's such a loss. Yeah. And the way the Browns defense played, phenomenal. Great job. Also, shout out to Bill Callahan, the Browns offensive line coach. Great offseason hire. Has really changed.
We got some shout outs going on this topic for sure.